Hello friends, very good evening and welcome to CEC online lectures. In the series of my previous lectures, I discussed about important class of a secondary metabolites from plants, that is alkaloids. And in those lectures we discussed about that what are alkaloids, how they are distributed in nature, what are the different types of alkaloids, what are the basis of the classification of alkaloids, what are their properties, how they are extracted from the plant matrix and the uses. So in continuation with the series of lectures on the secondary metabolites from plants, today I am going to start with another important class of secondary metabolites, that is flavonoids. I am sure you must have seen advertisements on television whereby the companies claim that their food product contain flavonoids or their beverages contain flavonoids. Now, why so that flavonoids have become so important that companies are advertising their products on the name of flavonoids? Perhaps this is because of their potent biological action and their beneficial action on human body, because of which flavonoids have become so important. Obviously, we are going to discuss the uses or the biological activities of flavonoids by the end of the series of this lecture. So to begin with, what we are going to cover about flavonoids is what are flavonoids, then how they are distributed in nature, then what are the systems by which the names to different flavonoids are given, what are the different properties of flavonoids, how these potent bioactive compounds are classified, what are the bases of their classification, then how these compounds are synthesized within the plant, because flavonoids are the compounds which are synthesized by plants only, and whatever flavonoidal content, if found in animal cell, that is largely because of the consumption of the plants which contain flavonoids. Then we will discuss about the extraction procedures of these molecules from the plant matrix, followed by various chemical tests that will help you in detecting the presence or absence of flavonoids in a given sample, and lastly we will discuss about the uses and different biological activities of flavonoids within the plant as well as for humans. Now, to begin with, the discovery of flavonoids is credited to a Hungarian biochemist, Albert Gorgy, and flavonoids were discovered by him in 1938. Now, Dr. Albert is also credited with the discovery of vitamin C, and he was awarded Nobel Prize in 1937. So, in continuation with his work on citrus fruits in 1938, he discovered another type of compounds which he named them as vitamin P. But later on it was found that the compound he isolated or identified is not a vitamin P, but it's a flavonoid, and that is why Dr. Gorgy has been given the credit for discovering flavonoids. Now, flavonoids are perhaps the largest group of naturally occurring phenols, and I will say that they are largely occurring secondary metabolites along with alkaloids, as more than 20,000 flavonoids have been identified and isolated from different plants in the nature. Now, flavonoids are nothing but they are a 15 carbon compounds having a C6 C3 C6 carbon skeleton. As you can see in the picture, that the basic nucleus is composed of 3 rings, A, B and C. A and B are the 2 phenyl rings, whereas ring C is a pyrene or a heterocyclic ring. These flavonoids, as I told you, that these are C6, C3 and C6 derivatives. So, ring A is composed of 6 carbon atoms, ring C is composed of 3 carbon atoms, that is 2, 3 and 4, and again ring B is composed of 6 carbon atoms. That is why these are C6, C3 and C6 compounds. Now, these are also known as phenyl benzopyrene compounds or their derivatives, because ring A and C they form a benzopyrene structure, whereas ring B is the phenyl ring and it is attached to the ring C or the benzopyrene nucleus. That is why they are known as phenyl benzopyrene compounds. Now these are also known as 2-phenylchromene 4-one compounds. Now 2-phenyl means that there is a phenyl ring B that is attached to the second position of ring C, that is the pyran ring, and chromene is the basic nucleus that is formed by ring A and C, and 4-one there is a ketonic group at the position 4 of ring C. Though I have not shown that ketonic group because there are other flavonoids also which do not have this ketonic group, but by and large flavonoids have a ketonic group at 4th position. That is why they are also known as 2-phenylchromene 4-one. So but as I told you that there are certain compounds which do not have ketonic group in their structure, and therefore these are also considered as flavonoid. Likewise, there are certain compounds which do not have this C6, C3, C6 skeleton, but still they are considered as flavonoids. So to remove this ambiguity or discrepancy regarding the definition of the flavonoids, IUPAC in 2017 gave a broader definition of flavonoids, and according to their definition, flavonoid is a term which is applied to the compounds that are structurally based on the derivatives of phenyl substituted propyl benzene with C15 skeleton. So again we see that the first point in the definition is these are the phenyl substituted propyl benzene derivatives. So if we go back to the parent molecule, phenyl propyl benzene, so phenyl is the ring B, propyl is the ring C, 2, 3 and 4 carbon, and ring A is again the benzene ring. So phenyl propyl benzene structure is there, and their derivatives are considered as flavonoids. Then the second point in their definition is that these are the compounds which are having 16 carbon in their structure, and they are derivatives of phenyl substituted propyl benzene. Again the basic nucleus is same, that is phenyl substituted propyl benzene, but they have 16 carbons in their skeleton, and the common example under this category is of rotenoids, which belong to the type of isoflavonoids which we are going to discuss later in our lecture. Now rotenoids have an additional heterocyclic ring and which has 1 carbon atom in it, and that is why they are having a 16 carbon skeleton. And the third aspect of this definition is inclusion of flavolignans. Now lignans are the compounds which are having a basic nucleus of C6 C3 structure, and this basic C6 C3 structure get dimerized, oligomerized or polymerized to give to the rise of new biologically potent molecules which are known as lignans. And whenever this lignan compound is attached to a flavonoid nucleus, the resultant compound or the structure is known as flavolignans. Since these compounds are considered as the derivatives again of flavonoids which are having phenyl substituted propyl benzene structure, and they are condensed with the lignan, therefore such compounds are now also considered under definition of flavonoids. But for our convenience, we will restrict the definition of flavonoids to the first two categories, that is the derivatives of propyl benzene phenyl derivatives, as well as the C16 skeleton compounds, that is rotenoids. Now we move on to the distribution of flavonoids within the plant kingdom, and it has been reported that flavonoids are distributed throughout the plant kingdom and to almost all the members of the kingdom, except they are largely absent from the algae, and within algae they are found in Charophyceae, members of the Charophyceae class, which are nothing but the green algae or commonly known as stoneworts. Likewise, in fungi, flavonoids have been reported in numerous species of fungi or genuses of fungi. Then chloroflavonin and dihydrochalcone are the compounds that have been isolated from the fungi belonging to the genus Aspergillus. Here you can see the structure of 2-chloroflavonin. Again the structure is same, C6, C3, C6 structure with 3 rings A, B and C, and here you can see that a ketonic group is present at the 4th position in ring C, that is the heterocyclic ring. Now when we talk about the higher plants, flavonoids are ubiquitous in higher plants, as they have found in almost all the groups of higher plants ranging from pteridophytes, gymnosperms and angiosperms, and they have a wider distribution amongst the angiosperms. And if we talk about the distribution of flavonoids within the plant, flavonoids are present in almost every part of the plant, such as fruits. We will find flavonoids in fruits such as berries, grapes, apple, bell peppers, and citrus fruits. Likewise, we can find flavonoids in the beans of the plants also, such as soya beans and legumes. And this type of plants are rich in isoflavonoids, which is a subgroup of flavonoid. Then leaves, you will find flavonoids in the leaves of tea and ginkgo biloba. Flowers, most of the flowers which have beautiful colors in their petals, and this color is largely due to the presence of pigments known as anthocyanins or anthocyanidins, and anthocyanins are nothing but a subgroup of flavonoids. Then flavonoids are also found in roots and rhizomes, and a common example which you can remember is glycyrrhiza, which is also known as mulatti. And flavonoids are also found in the stem or its modification, and another common example which you can remember is onion. And onion is rich in quercetin, which belongs to a flavonol subgroup of flavonoids. Now next is the nomenclature of the flavonoids. What are the different systems by which flavonoids are named? And if we look into the literature, we will find three major systems by which flavonoids are named, and these are systematic and semi-systematic systems, trivial systems, and semi-trivial system. And amongst these three systems, systematic, semi-systematic, and trivial system are largely followed, and majority of the flavonoids have been named based on these systems, whereas semi-trivial system is always discouraged to be used for naming the flavonoids because of certain ambiguities and discrepancies, which we are going to discuss ahead. So coming on to the systematic and semi-systematic naming. Now systematic naming is nothing but the IUPAC naming of a chemical compound. So as you can see in the example, the basic nucleus is flavonone, and its systematic name is 2,3-dihydro, 2-phenyl, 1-benzopyran, 4-one. So that is 2,3-hydro means dihydro means there is no double bond between 2 and 3 position. Though basic nucleus of the majority of the flavonoids will have double bond or the unsaturation in their ring C, but flavonones are the compounds which do not have double bond at 2 and 3 position of ring C. And the semi-systematic systems are those by which the flavonoids are named in such a manner that they represent the subgroup or the type of the flavonoids. Now the semi-synthetic system is I will say more easy to use and is more simple, whereas systematic system is quite complex and it's very difficult to use. Moreover, sometimes it do happens when we use systematic system of naming, that two structurally similar flavonoids may appear different when we name them on the basis of systematic system, and that is why semi-systematic system is more commonly used, and because it's very simple, whereas the second one, systematic system, is also much prevalent, but where only it is used there only where you have to name a flavonoid on the basis of its chemical structure or naming. Then we have as the trivial system, where the flavonoids are largely named on the basis of their source of isolation. As we have discussed under alkaloids also, because numerous alkaloids have also been named on the basis of their source from where they have been isolated. Say for example, we discussed about atropine. The name atropine is based upon the genus Atropa. Similarly, cocaine, the alkaloid, is named on the base of the name of the species, Erythroxylum coca. Likewise, flavonoids are also named on the basis of the source or the name of the plant from where they have been isolated. But the major problem with this type of naming is that many a times it has been seen that there are number of compounds which belong to certain other type of phytochemical class, but they have a similar name. Say for example, I have considered example of odorentin. Now there are 6 odorentins which are known, and out of these 6 odorentins, 3 are flavonoids, 2 belong to the class of terpenoidal compounds, and 1 is alkaloid. And this is perhaps largely due to due to the similarity in the name of the source from which these different phytochemicals have been isolated. So this is a major drawback of trivial system. Now in the trivial system, flavonoids are also classified or named in such a manner that their name indicate about their structure, as we studied under the semi-systematic system. Now here the naming of the flavonoids is done in such a manner, say for example if their name is suffixed with nidine. Now nidine, if it is suffixed, that indicates that the flavonoid belongs to a class of anthocyanidine. Example is pelargonidine. So we can see that pelargonidine ends with nidine, and pelargonidine is nothing but a pigment which belongs to anthocyanidine group. Similarly, if the flavonoid is suffixed, name of the flavonoid is suffixed with etine, then it indicates that that flavonoid belongs to the class of flavonol. Example is quercetin. But this method again lacks the consistency in naming, as well as it is quite difficult to adhere to this system. And this is the major drawback of the trivial system. But still, trivial systems are largely followed for naming the alkaloids, as we will see in our subsequent slides when we will discuss the classification of alkaloids. Then the last is the semi-trivial system, and this system is largely based upon naming the flavonoid on the basis of the modification that has been done to the parent flavonoid. Say for example, if a prenylated chain is attached to the chrysin molecule, it is named as 8-prenyl chrysin. But the major problem with the semi-trivial system is, though these names are widely spread, but they are always discouraged for their usage, because as we discussed, they cause duplicacy or ambiguity, and this is largely due to the parent structure may have more than one trivial name. So the parent flavonoid molecule may have certain other trivial names, and that will lead to the duplicacy or ambiguity in the name of that particular flavonoid. Likewise, those substituent may have several possible other names. Say for example, in case of prenyl, they are also known by the name three forms, that is 3-methyl-2-butynyl, delta isopentenyl, gamma-gamma dimethyl allyl, and isoprenyl. So when there are different names or different forms of the substituent, then also it becomes very difficult to give a name based on the semi-trivial system. And lastly, it's very difficult to document such names. You have to have a thorough knowledge of the different names of the substituents that are attached to the flavonoidal nucleus, and that is why it's very difficult for the documentation. So these are the three major systems by which flavonoids are named. Now we move on to the properties of these important phytomolecules, and these flavonoids basically in nature occur in both forms, that is aglycon as well as in the form of glycosides. Now glycosides are those molecules where sugars are attached. Say for example, we are talking about flavonoids, and if a sugar molecule is attached to a flavonoid molecule, then it becomes flavonoid glycoside. Likewise, if a sugar molecule is attached to an alkaloid, then it becomes an alkaloidal glycoside. Likewise, if a sugar is attached to a coumarin or a steroid, then they will become coumarin glycoside as well as steroidal glycosides. So by this definition, we can see that a glycoside is having two different parts in the structure. One is sugar part, which is known as glycon, and the other is the non-sugar part, which is known as aglycon. So in case of flavonoid glycosides, the aglycon part will be the basic flavonoid nucleus, whereas the sugar part which will be attached to the flavonoid nucleus will form the glycon part. So flavonoids occur both in the aglycon form, that is they are free from sugars, as well as the glycosidic form where the sugars are attached on their structures. And when sugars are attached on their structures, these flavonoid glycosides can occur in the form of O glycosides as well as C glycosides. Now these two classes of flavonoid glycosides are more prevalent. Obviously there are other type of glycosides also, but we will focus on O and C glycosides only. Now how we name these O glycosides or C glycosides? Whenever a sugar is attached through an oxygen atom, it is known as O glycoside, and when it is attached through a carbon atom, it is known as a C glycoside. So as you can see in the structure of camphorol is free from any kind of sugars attached onto its structure, and therefore it is an A glycon. Whereas in case of Vitexin, we can see a sugar molecule, a glucose molecule is attached, and the attachment is through a carbon atom, and therefore Vitexin is a C glycoside. Likewise, camphorol 7-O-glucoside is a glycoside where sugar is attached through an oxygen atom. Glucose molecule is attached through an oxygen atom. That is why camphorol 7-glucoside is a O-glucoside. So this is how these flavonoids occur in nature. Next we have that flavonoids are mostly they occur in the form of monomers as a single unit, but in nature their dimeric, oligomeric or polymeric forms are also prevalent and known. Like we have taken example of camphorol, which is a monomer, it's a single flavonoid molecule, and on the other side you will see amentoflavone, which is a dimeric molecule. You can see two flavonoidal molecules are attached to each other through carbon-carbon bond, and rest of the structure, or I will say the structure of the two monomers that are attached is similar, and it is a structure of epigenin. So we can say amentoflavone is a biflavonoid or dimeric flavonoid of epigenin, and amentoflavone is known to be present in Hypericum perforatum, which is also known as St. John wort, and is responsible for CNS depressant action. Whereas the oligomeric or polymeric flavonoids have been seen, and the common example is proanthocyanidins, which are also known as condensed tannins, and these oligomeric or polymeric forms they largely occur as oligomers or polymers of flavon-3-ol category of flavonoids, which are commonly collectively known as proanthocyanidins, which we are going to discuss under the classification section of the flavonoids. Then since we can see that there is a large variation in the structures of flavonoid, they have a large diversity, structural diversity within them, therefore they have a wide solubility pattern. Now if the flavonoids are present in A glycon form, that is they are devoid of any kind of sugar, then these flavonoids are soluble in the solvents having medium polarity such as dichloromethane or ethyl acetate. And when they are present in the glycosidic form or glycons are present, then they are soluble in more polar solvent because of the virtue of the attachment of sugars. These molecules become more polar, and therefore they are more soluble in methanol, ethanol or hydroalcoholic mixtures. There are the polymeric compounds of flavonoids, as we discussed, proanthocyanidins, or also known as catechins, and these are highly polar compounds, and therefore these are soluble in water. Now this is a general solubility pattern of flavonoids, and obviously there are certain exceptions. There are certain flavonoids whose solubility is largely dependent upon the pH of the solution, pH of the solvent which is being used, and all these exceptions or in detail solubility patterns we are going to discuss when we will discuss about the extraction of flavonoids. Now we move on to the classification of flavonoids. Now flavonoids can be classified on the basis of three major systems depending upon the saturation or the unsaturation of ring C. As you can see in the structure, if the flavonoids can be categorized, if there is double bond present in ring C or not, then they can also be classified on the basis of the position of the ring B, whether the ring B is attached to the second position or the third position or the fourth position in ring C. That also helps in the categorization of flavonoids. And the last is the molecular weight classification. Now amongst the three methods, the molecular weight classification system is the least used method, whereas the other two methods are largely used, and amongst the other two methods the classification based on the position of the ring B is more prevalent. So friends, in the next lecture we will discuss that how these classification systems are used to classify different types of flavonoids. Thank you.